taking place involving the President Paul Kagame. He's actually there as we speak. There you go, live visuals. Let's listen in.
Ghana, Nigeria and Kenya. I know your problems usually are about reforms, about regulation, about policy, and that's, of course, a big hindrance. But you've also been able to assist a lot of countries in getting those things right. What role will the IFC play?
Well, as part of the new strategy that I tried to lay out, I mean, we need to become much more proactive, and which means upstream. Upstream means more than before. We always worked with governments, but frankly, we were a little bit, it was kind of first work with the existing private sector, and then the government, but it was like a second. Now, if you want to really create opportunities, create is a dynamic word. It's not reactive as a pure financier, but work as a partner. We need to work upstream. That's a shift about mindset, to use the word of the president, which is very important. And that means engaging. We have a new product that is called Country Private Sector Diagnostic that we do. Our ambition is to do that in every country to see where are these opportunities, where are the changes that will trigger the opportunity.
Are opportunities increasing? And are you seeing those countries, those numbers increasing?
Well, we are working on it. So far, we are at the 3 billion. We want to go to 10. It's not going to happen by itself. So we're starting. I gave one example. We have an example that we're working on right here, since we're in Rwanda, to create a whole mortgage market. That doesn't exist. Creating it, supply and demand. That means working with the government, working with the private sector, working with our colleagues on the World Bank. So that's the ambition. And we believe we can move and move very fast. And working more closely with our colleagues from the World Bank. We're part of the World Bank group. Work with them much more closely. And that's what we have done. And we can unlock possibility that didn't exist before. That's the key.
Mr. Sawiri, so I know you've got operations in West Africa, mining operations. Of course, your main market being Egypt. But you have a large footprint and you understand different markets. How is this going to be a game changer for you? And are you on board when you see the CFTA and the policy that it's going to bring?
I think, as the President Kagame correctly said, the challenges are going to be in the implementation. I mean, you know, when government signs something and then we need to go and then deal with the bureaucrats that have to implement these big agreements, then the problems start, you know. But the significant change here in this approach of the IFC, which I really welcome, is that when we as private sector reach out to governments, there's always this suspicious, you know, the governments are suspicious that we are here just to come and take some money and make some money and run. This is suspicious to the entrepreneur, you know, that he has bad intentions. But the intentions are not bad. He wants to make profit, make money, but make the country also richer and create jobs and give. It's not just take, you know. So having the IFC, let's say, iron the road or become an active player, which means prepare. Let's say I'm an investor here, I'm in diversified. So I'm in mining, in real estate, I'm in financial institutions, IT, telecom. So let's say I come here in Rwanda and I want to invest in real estate. And there is no mortgage program. So how I will sell my units that I'll build, you know. But if the program has been created and the IFC has prepared the ground and all what I need is to come and build and sell the units, I'm in business.
Exactly, and that's an interesting point, Mr. Lopez. When you think about businesses wanting to go into other territories, the things that they think about, the ease of doing business, how long it's going to take to start a business, you know, the tax structures there, and of course, any kind of institutions to make sure that if things go wrong, someone's going to enforce the law. But that said, intra-Africa trade has been increasing as well. And there's a reason why it's still so low. Are we going to be able to get rid of those problems through just one policy? I know it's going to take coordinated action, but what is your prognosis on the matter?
Well, to start with, right now, just two of the largest intra-Africa investors, South Africa and Morocco, create more jobs with their investments than India, the UK, and Germany combined.
Yeah.
So we have basically a different pattern when you have an intra-Africa investor. We also have another very important indication that the intra-Africa trade is basically on value addition, whereas the Africa trade with the rest of the world is mostly commodity driven. So we need the value addition. And there is a reason for it. It's because you constitute value chains when you do this type of investments. But of course, the challenge of implementation. Let's just give one example. It takes up to 700 hours to process documentation in some African borders. It costs about $2,500 a day to process documentation for import and export in some countries. So this is unacceptable. We have issues of trade facilitation, but we also have issues of just logistics. The logistics of exporting from Africa to another African country is really brutal. It costs more to get the goods to Mombasa from here than it costs from Mombasa to China.
Wow.
And this is just not possible to continue. So those are the possibilities that the CFTA is going to address if we do things right. But to do things right, there are lots of negotiations that have to take place. Right now, we have agreements in most of the protocols for trade and goods, but we have huge problems to address, such as intellectual property, such as rules of origin, such as how we are going to deal with the mammoth task of basically having the tariff schedules all coordinated and synchronized in a time frame that is not going to be penalizing the momentum that has been created by these fast ratifications. And right now, we have basically 50% more costs in doing trade in Africa than we do in East Asia. And to change that, we'll have to be able to really have more than just political will. We need a lot of technicality too.
What is it going to take?
Well, I think what we have witnessed so far is that, we got
Okay, it seems that we lost that feed there coming from Kigali, Rwanda. That was the Africa CEO Forum taking place today and tomorrow in Kigali. Talking about, among other issues, inter-Africa trade. It's regarded as the foremost international meeting of African CEOs as well as investors. And it's largely dedicated to the private sector in Africa. And it's all about, I guess, unlocking Africa's economic potential by championing private sector-led growth. We're going to have more from this. Let's try to establish those communications in Kigali, and we'll try to come back to that as soon as possible. One of the speakers, as we've been mentioning, is President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. Let's take a quick